Behind the ribs, there is a silent room, where light once entered like spring perfume. Now curtains hang in tired despair, dust dancing in forgotten air. A window stands against the night, locked away from warmth and light. No breeze can touch what's sealed inside. No voice can cross where tears reside. This heart was once a house of sound, with laughter blooming all around. Footsteps of hope ran through each hall. Dreams wrote their names upon the wall. But storms arrived without a warning, turned bright noon into broken morning. Thunder spoke what lips could not, and love became a fading thought. The window closed one evening late, not slammed in rage, but sealed by fate. A gentle click, a quiet end, where lover stopped and turned to friend. Since then, the room has held its breath, counting hours that tasted of death. Not body's death, but something worse, the slow goodbye of a universe. Curtains stitched from unshed cries cloud the corners of the eyes. Every memory, framed in pain, taps the glass like falling rain. Outside, the world still laughs and runs, chasing moons and morning suns. But in here, time forgot to move, stuck inside what love once proved. There's a chair beside the wall, where I still expect your call. A shadow sits where you once stayed, a ghost of words we never said. I talk to silence like it hears, feed it stories, water it tears. It answers back with hollow tone, a language only known by the alone. Nights grow heavy on this chest. Sleep refuses to be a guest. Moonlight slips through a tiny seam, like hope afraid to be a dream. I touch the glass. It feels so cold, like promises that weren't told. My breath draws fog upon the pane. I write your name, then wipe again. The heart remembers every knock, every moment love would knock. But fear now stands beside the door, whispering, "Don't open anymore." What if light forgets the way? What if warmth no longer stays? What if love is just a lie, wings that grow, but cannot fly? So the window stays in place, guarding this abandoned space. Not because I do not yearn, but because I fear the burn. Still, somewhere deep, a small pulse cries, a rebel spark that never dies. It presses softly on the frame, calling hope by secret name. Maybe one day, it dares to say, someone will knock and choose to stay. Someone patient with the scars, someone gentle with the bars. Till that day, this room remains, breathing softly through its panes. A heart that beats, but half apart, behind the closed window of the heart. The walls have learned my every sigh. They know the sound of asking why. They've watched my hands reach empty air, as if your shape was still there. There's a mirror cracked with time, reflecting love that was once mine. I see myself, but not the same. A soul reduced to ash and flame. I used to shine with careless light. Now I flicker through the night. Not fully dark, not truly bright, just someone tired of the fight. The floor remembers dancing feet, moments when two rhythms meet. Now echoes walk alone instead, counting words we never said. Rain outside begins to fall, softly drumming on the wall. Each drop whispers, "Let me in." But fear replies, "Remember when? Remember tears that would not dry. Remember love that learned to lie. Remember how the sun could fade, how forever slowly decayed." So I sit guard of my own pain, a lonely king with no domain. Crown of memories, throne of ache, ruling a heart that fear did take. Yet sometimes, when the night is deep, and even sorrow falls asleep, I hear a knock, so faint, so small, like courage tapping on the wall. I freeze between the past and now, between the hurt and broken vow. My hand lifts up, then falls again, trained too well by former pain. O window, keeper of my scars, do you protect or hide the stars? Do you shield me from the night, or steal my chance to see the light? Answer comes in silent air, in the weight I always bear. Safety built from fear alone is just another kind of stone. Still I sit and still I wait, arguing daily with my fate. Half of me wants locks and keys, half still dreams of gentle breeze. And somewhere in this quiet art, in this dim museum of the heart, a tiny crack begins to start, a tiny crack begins to start, so small it almost falls apart. Not loud like thunder, wild and fast, but soft, the kind that's built to last. Comes each time I dare to feel a memory I couldn't seal. Each tear that slips without consent becomes the tool the fracture sent. The glass remembers what I hide, the way I break but stay outside. It trembles with each silent plea, as if it longs to set me free. I press my ear against the pane, and hear my own heart call my name. Not yours this time, not ghosts before, but me, behind that inner door. When did you leave? The echo asks, while loving others, wearing masks. When did you trade your truth for fear, and lock your soul away in here? I have no words, just shaking breath, the kind that tastes like little deaths. Because the hardest truth to face is knowing I abandoned this place. I closed the window, yes, it's true, but not just to the world, to me too. I barred the light, I dimmed my flame, and taught my heart to live in shame. The crack grows wider with that thought, with every lesson sorrow taught. Pain was not the only thief, I also stole my own belief. Outside, a morning starts to rise, faint gold touching sleepy skies. A single ray finds that thin line, where broken glass begins to shine. It doesn't force, it doesn't shout, it simply waits, a way back out. Warmth so gentle it feels afraid, as if one harsh move it might fade. My fingers hover near the seam, between the wound and what could be. Fear stands close, an old best friend, warning me how stories end. You know this road? It softly says. It leads to tears and lonely beds, to promises that turn to smoke, to fragile hearts too easy broke. But something new begins to speak, a voice not loud, but calm, not weak. A voice that sounds like distant spring, like birds who dare again to sing. Yes, you were hurt. Yes, you were torn. Yes, nights were long and hope was worn. But pain is not the only truth. You also carry love and youth. The room grows still. The war is quiet. Two truths stand, refusing riot. One built from what was lost before, one built from what I still have store. My hand at last rests on the frame, heart beating hard, but not the same. I don't throw wide the glass and bars. I just let in a thread of stars. Air slips in, so thin, so light, it almost feels like borrowed night. But with it comes a scent of day, of roads I never walked away. The room inhales for the first time. Not grief, not memory, not crime, but simple air, untouched, unknown. A breath that feels like not alone. Dust begins to rise and dance, lit by golden second chance. The chair, the walls, the aching floor don't look like prisons anymore. Nothing's fixed. The pain's not gone. The past still whispers at the dawn. But now there's space beside the ache, a place where something new can wake. The window isn't open wide, but neither fully sealed inside. It stands between the dark and start, a healing crack across the heart. And maybe love will knock one day, or maybe just the light will stay. Maybe peace will wander through, with quiet hands and something true. For now I sit, but not the same, not only ash, not only flame. A heart still bruised, still torn apart, but breathing through the window of the heart. The air that entered, small and shy, now lingers like a soft reply. It brushes past the heavy air that used to sit in dull despair. The curtains stir for the first time, like old bells giving back their chime. Dust no longer floats like grief, it dances, light and strangely brief. I didn't notice when the room stopped smelling only like a tomb. There's something else I can't explain, like earth that drank the night's long rain. The chair beside the silent wall still waits, but doesn't feel so small. It isn't just a ghostly place, it's space. For someone, someday, grace. The mirror, cracked by former years, still shows the map of hidden tears. But in its broken silver frame, I see a spark that knows my name. Not the name you used to say, not the one that faded gray, but the one I had before the fall, before love built and broke its wall. My shoulders drop a little more, like setting burdens on the floor. Pain no longer grips so tight, it sits beside me. Not the fight. We breathe together, ache and I, no longer enemies that try to drown each other in the dark. We share the same, small, beating spark. Outside, a bird begins a song, unaware of right or wrong. It sings because the morning came, not asking who or what to blame. I listen, and for just a while my lips remember how to smile. Not wide, not bright, not free of scar, but real. And that is miracle enough so far. The window hums with quiet light, neither day nor fully night. A borderland where hearts relearn that warmth can visit without burn. I touch the crack, it doesn't sting. It feels like almost everything I lost and everything I'm due meeting in a point of view. Maybe love is not a storm, not always fire, not always warm. Maybe sometimes love is air, unseen, but always softly there. Maybe healing isn't fast, not erasing what has passed. Maybe it's just letting pain sit beside the sun and rain. A knock comes not from outside, but deep within, where truths reside. Not let them in, not run away. Just stay with yourself today. So I stay. I stay inside this mending place, not chasing ghosts, not losing grace. Just learning how my own heart beats without retreating in defeats. The window stays a little wide, enough for light, enough for tide. Enough to feel, enough to see that broken isn't the end of me. Some nights will still be long and cold. Some fears will knock, fierce and bold. But now I know the glass can bend, and cracks can be where lights begin. The room is still the same old heart, with fragile walls and wounded art. But now it's not a sealed-off part. It's home again. This windowed heart. Afternoons begin to feel less long. Time no longer moves all wrong. Clocks still tick, but not like before. Not like footsteps toward a closed door. I start to notice little things, how sunlight rests on ordinary things, how even silence has a tone, not always sharp, not always alone. The floor that held my restless pace now feels like steady, grounded space. I walk it slow, without escape, learning again my inner shape. There's a shelf of folded days, memories kept in careful ways. I don't avoid them like a flame. I read them now and keep my name. Some still ache like tender skin, some still pull the air too thin. But others, soft as distant rain, remind me love was not all pain. There were mornings, warm and wide, where joy and I stood side by side. There were laughs I didn't fake, smiles no sorrow tried to take. I let those moments breathe again, not as hooks of what if then, but proof my heart, though torn apart, still knows the language of its start. The window creaks a little more, not forced, just less afraid than before. Wind brushes past like passing thought, gentle, asking nothing, bought. I don't rush to throw it wide, healing walks, it doesn't ride. It's made of pauses, breath, and grace, of learning how to hold one's place. A knock returns, but different now, not loud, not urgent, not a vow. Just presence, standing at the air, a quiet maybe, waiting there. I don't imagine wedding bells, or futures drawn in shining spells. I only let the moment be a possibility, not destiny, because my heart is not a cage, not a story stuck on one old page. It's a book still warm with space to write, with chapters shaped by inner light. If someone comes with open hands, not to conquer, not command, but simply sit beside the view and honor what I've journeyed through, maybe I'll shift the window more, maybe welcome them to the floor. Not as rescue, not as cure, but as two hearts choosing to endure. And if no one comes for now, that's not a wound upon my brow, because the room is no longer bare. I am already living there. I light a lamp inside my chest, not blazing bright, but warm and blessed. It glows for me, it always did. I just forgot where it was hid. Night will fall again, it's true. Shadows still will wander through. But now the dark is not the end. It's just the place where lights defend. The window stands, not closed, not wide, a living border, not a hide. And in that space of in-between, I finally learn what healing means. Not perfect glass, not painless art, but breath that moves through a tender heart. A heart once sealed, afraid to start, now softly open, behind the window of the heart point one evening, colored soft with gray, between the end and start of day. A presence settles by the frame, not loud enough to stake a claim. No knocking fist, No pleading sound, no desperate circling around. Just someone standing in the air, as if they found the window there. I almost miss it, almost do, because it doesn't push its view. It doesn't rattle glass with need, or shout its worth, or beg to be freed. It simply stays. And in that stay, a strange release, a quiet kind of borrowed peace. My heart, long trained to brace for pain, waits for the storm, the loss, the rain. But none arrives. The sky holds still. The moment moves without a will to conquer, claim, or rearrange the fragile balance of my range. I shift closer, inch by inch, still ready at the smallest flinch. Fear stands up, but not as tall. Its voice no longer fills the wall. Be careful, it says, but soft, unsure. Not iron law, just habits blur. And hope, beside it, does not fight. It simply shares the same dim light. I lift my eyes toward the pane, where dusk has written lines of flame. And through the crack, through mended seam, I see no fantasy, no dream. Just human eyes, not shining bright, not promising eternal light, but steady, warm, aware of scars, like someone who has walked through dark. They do not say, "I'll heal your past." They do not swear they'll always last. They do not speak in golden lies or build a sky with borrowed skies. They only say, not loud, not far, "I see the shape of where you are. I won't break in. I won't depart because your window guards your heart." And something in my chest unties, not fireworks, just softer skies. Because the safest kind of grace is one that gives your pain its space. My hand returns to where the frame still holds the memory of flame. I breathe, not sharp, not torn apart, just air moving through a cautious heart. The window opens, not in flight, not all at once to flood with light, but just enough for words to pass, for warmth to slip through healing glass. We do not rush to name the scene, not forever, not what could have been. We share the weather of the now, two quiet souls without a vow. And in that space, so calm, so small, I feel no rise before a fall. No edge of cliff, no hidden dart, just open air, inside the heart. The room is still my own, my ground. The walls still hold my healing sound. But now the window is a door to something I don't fear anymore. Not because it cannot break, but because this time I stay awake. I keep myself. I don't depart. I don't abandon my own heart. So if love enters, it will see not an empty place to fill in me, but a whole room with light and art and space beside the window of the heart.